Now this is Hollywood Unlocked. Yo, it's Hollywood Unlocked Uncensored. I'm Jason Lee.
I'm Melissa Ford, a.k.a. the Curve Queen.
It's DJ Damas. Let's get it started.
Okay, and somehow we're sitting next to the sexiest man alive. Wow. That's definitely going to be in the intro for John Legend for the next at least 6 months to a year.
Yeah, and then they'll pick somebody else, and the pressure will be off.
Wait, but was that a lot of pressure to get that? I mean, so People Magazine said that you are the sexiest man alive.
Right.
And they somehow got you photographed. Are you coming out of a pool or what?
Kind of looked like a Superman
pose.
pose.
It was in my backyard, in our pool in the backyard, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, okay, so when they call you up and say, what, because we've never interviewed an EGOT.
Nope.
We've never interviewed the sexiest man alive.
We're checking off a lot of boxes today.
Yeah. So when they call you and say, okay, we're going to objectify you in front of the world.
Yes.
How do they tell you that that's that honor? Like, how do you?
Well, they told my publicist, and then my publicist told my manager. My manager calls me, and she's like, I don't want to text you this news. I want to call you. And I'm usually just like, I want to do everything via text and email. She's like, I want to call you and tell you this news is big. And she's like, you're going to be sexiest man alive. I was like, what? And immediately I was like excited / nervous about it because I feel like it's too much pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Is it?
It's like, because people are like, he ain't the sexiest, man. He's cute, but, it's like nobody will let you actually enjoy it because they're like thinking of all the other people they think are sexier than you. And you can't really enjoy it.
Who's the voting body? Like, is it people
it's
just...
an editorial decision. People
Yeah?
just decide, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, you're not worried about trolling. You and your wife can handle social media.
Yeah, we can handle it, but I intentionally did not look at my Twitter mentions last night.
But I saw you put your side-by-sides, you and Idris.
Yes.
And you got ahead of everybody.
I was like, I know what y'all are thinking. We know who last year was. We know I'm me.
but it's also great because there haven't been a lot of black men, I don't think.
Yeah, not very many. Idris, The Rock, me, and I think Denzel also.
Yeah.
That's about it.
That's good company.
Yeah, good company. Yeah.
Okay, so you're on The Voice. You know it's so crazy so when The Voice first came out, we were familiar with X Factor and American Idol, and you always had the Simon Cowell that you thought was the draw for the show.
Yes.
And I didn't really think that a show for music competition could have such positivity exuding everywhere. It was almost like, damn, you can catch the flu from it.
Yeah.
But The Voice is now my favorite show.
The Voice is the bomb.
I think American Idol really did work with Simon being kind of the voice of negativity, and they started with those auditions where people would it was comedy, because people would come on there and then some of them were just terrible, and they intentionally had some terrible people on there so people could make fun of their audition. But The Voice's hook, I think, has always been the blind audition. So we don't see these artists come before us. We just listen and we're inspired by them, and then we battle for them. So people like that interaction between the coaches where we battle over the artists, and they like the blind aspect, and so that's our hook. But each show has had their own hook, and we even have a Masked Singer now.
Which people love that show too.
People love that too. So every show has their own hook, and I think The Voices is really working for us.
But I think with the blind audition, you really it strips away judgment. It strips
Mm-hmm.
away like gimmicky. It's just based on talent.
You get to be moved by somebody's voice, and sometimes people's voices really are moving and inspiring, and you hear it, and it's like, oh wow, this is special, and you press that button.
He won last season with Malin Jarman. She's so good.
She's incredible.
I love her.
Yeah, and I think I got some possible winners on my team.
Have they?
This year.
Have you guys shot everything yet?
We're live now, so
okay.
We did our first live shows Monday and Tuesday. So we got our first popular vote results on Tuesday, and we'll go live again Monday and keep narrowing it down, and then the finale will be right before Christmas.
Do you think you have a good shot?
I do. I feel like I have at least a couple people that could win the show. Yeah.
So now with all the judges, there's been many judge changes on the show.
Yeah.
Who is the best for?
Well, I've only been part of 2 casts now, and now we already taped the 3rd cast for the blind auditions for next season with Nick Jonas. But I really love the chemistry right now with me, Kelly, Gwen, and Blake. It's been really good.
Yeah, have you seen Kelly's new talk show?
I've been on it.
Have you?
Yeah.
It's pretty dope.
It's good. Kelly, I mean, she has a gift for gab, and she has a show that she performs on a lot musically, and she's having a lot of fun, and I think it's a really entertaining show.
Okay, so I watched your Oscar win speech, and it was really emotional. I mean, it was really good to see you and Common win that. How did that feel?
People ask me, like, what are your biggest moments in your career? And I always point to that moment because we got to win for a song for a film that was so important. So Selma obviously celebrated Dr. King and everybody that marched for voting rights. And it was directed by our friend Ava DuVernay. And it was such a powerful film. And we got to write a really powerful song for that film that not only commemorated Dr. King's work, but was celebrating people who were marching in Ferguson right at that moment, people who were marching in, Staten Island after Eric Garner was killed. So all these activists were literally marching in the streets as we were writing the song, and we got to celebrate their work too. And we didn't want to waste that moment, so we performed with a replica of the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, and we got to speak about what was going on in America at that moment. And it was a powerful moment.
But as a creative, are you involved with the whole concept of how you want to bring this song to life?
Well,
because I don't really get that. Like somebody passes you some notes and here's a song and you just sing it and it's.
Well, what happened was Common was in the edit room with Ava, and Ava was like, "We need a dope, closing song for this film that captures the essence of what the film is about." And they sent me the film, like the rough cut of it, and he gave me some title ideas. And one of the ideas he gave me was the title Glory. And I was like, I love that word. I'm going to use that word, and that'll be like my concept for the song. And I built a chorus and a musical bed around that idea of glory. I sent it back to Common, and he made his verses, and we had a song.
Yeah.
And I was like, is Ava happy? Does she love it? And Common was like, yeah, she loves it. It was in the film, and then the rest is history.
Yeah, that's one of the dopest things about you, because you can hear your voice on amazing films like Selma, and then you can go to a Rick Ross album or your favorite hip-hop artist, and you can hear John Legend as well. Are you consciously keeping that balance, or you just love the music that much?
Well, that's just a part of my upbringing. I grew up on hip-hop and R&B, and I've always felt like they were, like I said on Rhythm and Flow, R&B is the chill cousin of hip-hop. Yeah. And we've always collaborated. Kanye produced my first 5 albums, and I collaborated with him throughout my early career.
Yeah.
And a lot of my first opportunities as a vocalist to be heard were on hip-hop albums. The first time I ever played on an album as a pianist was the Lauryn Hill album.
Yeah.
I played on Everything Is Everything.
Mm.
And
which is an amazing song, by the way.
Thank you. And so my whole career I've been collabing with hip hop artists, and so I've always thought of that as part of who I am as an artist.
But a lot of people kind of leave that side behind, as they grow. Like I said, you're doing things for films, you're on The Voice, but I feel like you always keep your hip hop side close.
I love it. I love working with Ross. I feel like he and I are like a perfect combination, his voice and my voice. And whenever he reaches out to me and is like, can you bless the album? I'm like, please, I'd love to.
Well, speaking of Kanye West, we both have been to Sunday service. I've been there 3 times. Mm-hmm. He's been there once. She has not been there yet. She's a critic.
I haven't been either.
So what do you think of Kanye West and the whole Jesus is King movement now?
I just feel like Kanye follows his muse. Like, this is where he is in his head right now. This is what he's interested in. And I feel like as an artist, that's how he's always been. He follows... He's very truthful and very free about where he is at that moment, and he communicates that through his art, and that's what he's doing right now.
I've said he's a visionary, and I said that he's a genius. I think sometimes people get conflicted between his music and his artistry and his ability to create a vision and manifest it into reality, and his personal selections with his friends in the White House.
Yeah, and a lot of us have disagreed with him being embracing Trump and embracing that whole movement. And obviously, I've publicly done so, and privately, and then he publicized it. But, I still feel the same way about that. Like, I strongly disagree with that whole movement, and I think it was a mistake for him to align himself with Trump. But I still think he's a great artist, and he continues to follow his muse, and I think we're better off with him being free as a creator to do whatever inspires him at that moment. And it's going to take us through journeys, wherever he is in his life, that's what we're going to see in his work.
Well, I think you're a good. I mean, I think good friends pick up the phone and call their friends and have real conversations.
Yeah.
So it's good to hear.
So we talked about it, and y'all saw some of it, but that was the honest conversation.
That's interesting because a lot of people's relationships did not last with when somebody was a Trump supporter and somebody was anti-Trump. Families fell apart.
Yeah, and I think everybody's got to deal with their own family situation, their own friend situation in their own way, and you handle it the way you handle it.
But what I like about you though is you've been proven that you can be positive and have a very successful career. I think it all boils down to having real talent. I mean, because there's a lot. I'm on the show called Love and Hip Hop, which, by the way, I told everybody there. I don't see any of you on Billboard, but you have a show to do music. But how do you stay so positive in a world that's consumed with so much negativity?
Well, I don't think it's always about positivity. I think it's about truth telling and being authentic. And so some of the things I talk about are negative. Some of the things I talk about are pretty dark subjects, but I try to talk about a positive vision for how we fix it, how we change it, but it's always honest, and it's always me being true to who I am and what I want the world to be. And I feel like people respect that in artists. Nina Simone and Paul Robeson. Nina Simone said an artist's duty is to reflect the times that they live in, and then Paul Robeson said that we're the gatekeepers of truth. And so I feel like that's part of what artists are supposed to do. And the artists I grew up loving were artists that did that.
See, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, I think. Like, I'll give an example. So I was in Vegas at Floyd Mayweather's house. We're watching the Surviving R. Kelly thing, and here comes John Legend.
Yes.
I mean, the courage it takes to be out there and to have an opinion. I've been very vocal about it. We've all been very vocal about it. But to see you there, it caught me off guard because I didn't expect you to be so honest. But why did you choose to do that?
Well, part of it was just as simple as Dream Hampton's a friend of mine. We've worked together on criminal justice reform issues, and she's just been a friend and somebody I respect and trust. And so when somebody like that reaches out to you, you at least entertain the idea of doing it. And then on that front, I was in agreement with her mission for the film, but also some good friends of mine were always part of the Mute R. Kelly movement. One of them is a rape survivor. She started a whole organization in Chicago working with young black girls who were rape survivors. And obviously, if you're working with young black girls in Chicago who are rape survivors, one of your public enemy number one is R. Kelly, because literally that's what he was doing, was taking young black girls, going to McDonald's and doing all this other mess, going to recruit these girls so that they could become part of his, harem. Yeah. And so when I had a connection with folks who were protesting that for years, had a connection with Dream, and then she asked me, would I speak in the film? I was like, sure.
Just kind of aligned.
Yeah. I was like, why not? I have no loyalty to, child rapist, so what am I going to do?
We love John.
Oh, I was really surprised that you did, just for the simple fact that a lot of artists would want to kind of, they may have their private thoughts, but they wouldn't want to share them with the world, just because artists are very sensitive. They don't want to be criticized and they don't want to be wrong. Yeah. But I thought that was a really brave move for you to be so vocal about that.
Yeah, I respect when people tell me they think it was brave, but part of me is like, I didn't feel like it was that brave.
Yeah, but it is. I mean, for you, you perform. I mean, I know you've performed everywhere, but you performed at the Legends Ball. There wasn't the dinner that you know what I'm saying. The
Oprah's,
lunch for Oprah.
Yeah.
You're everywhere. I mean, you're in all the right places that a lot of people, they either don't have the talent to be there or they just aren't there. I don't know. Maybe they don't have the team that you have.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no.
But either way, to have the courage to do that, I mean, and to have all the success you have and do, I thought it was courageous.
Now I want to piggyback off you were saying, Jason, because you are everywhere. Do you deal with any social anxiety?
No, not at all.
No, because we was just talking about a new artist. She's making her way in the game, Summer Walker.
Okay.
And she she canceled her tour because of social anxiety.
Okay.
And Jason was like, "What the hell? These new artists these
Give
days."
me the sweater.
Yeah.
This is.
But I don't want to make fun of somebody.
Not even making fun of it, but can you see that coming up in the game as a new R&B artist, just being in this game, period? Can you see where that might be the right move to make to maybe stop a tour? Is that something you would never do?
I think a lot of artists deal with some sort of anxiety. Some deal with depression, and a lot of times their art is informed by that. And sometimes we get dope art out of artists that are like that, because some of the demons they're dealing with make for interesting art. And
Like Mary J. Blige.
well, a lot of folks. I mean, Kanye's talked about being bipolar, and like a lot of different artists have mental issues and anxieties and depression and all kinds of things, and it's complicated for them because it makes their life more difficult in some ways, but it also makes them more creative in other ways. And so we see both, but it doesn't make it easy for them as artists to be in this world. This world is crazy. Like, if you don't have the mental strength to deal with it, it's a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
Being looked at by so many people, being
Judged.
being
Social
judged, being on
media.
social media,
Man.
all these other things. It's a lot of pressure for people. And so I can understand why some people would be like, I don't know if I can do all of this. Maybe I just want to make a record and not
Yeah.
tour it.
Yeah.
You know, like some people might not be able to handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I wasn't making fun of her.
Yeah.
No, I don't feel like he was
I
making
have a
fun of
sweater
her.
that says, "What would Beyonce do?" And I made this sweater.
Beyonce would show up.
Right. I'm just saying, like, I mean, it's probably stressful for Trump to be the president. That was bullshit joke. but I mean, like, what would Beyonce do?
I think he's stressed today as these impeachment hearings are going on.
Well, listen, no, see, we were gonna ask this question, but I do have to ask you. So.
Yeah.
I love your wife. I don't know why she blocked us. I think we're blocked on Instagram. Keep
Oh,
this
no.
down. We'll talk directly.
What
to
did
the
y'all
plug.
say?
Nothing. Let me tell you something. We live for her because
Yeah,
the
we do.
last time I saw you, I know
I'm
you-
going to talk to her and find out. She might not remember why.
She probably just
She
was-
might have forgiven y'all by now and forgot about it.
We love her. But no, the last time I saw you two was at a Lakers game.
Uh-huh.
It was right before you announced that you were expecting your second child.
Oh, okay.
But you guys were in the private lounge. When you have the courtside
Yes.
seats, all the bougie people, we get to go in the back.
Yes.
But you were up against the bar. I couldn't see that she was pregnant. I wish I would have been. I was right there, close to an exclusive, and didn't even know.
You didn't know.
But
And
congratulations.
you were like, why isn't Chrissy having a drink with John?
Right. But when she's attacked by the Cheeto in charge, is that something that makes you just, how do you absorb that? Because when I talked about you being positive earlier,
Yeah.
you don't go on your Instagram or Twitter like I may and just go off. You guys,
We kind of went off on him. We said some choice words about him, and there was a certain
Yeah, you
term that was trending on Twitter, and a certain full version of that term that wasn't allowed to trend on Twitter because it was too profane.
We can say it here.
We can say pussy ass bitch here.
Yes,
Oh,
we
okay,
can.
can say it. Oh, okay. So anyway, obviously not always positive.
No, that was
But
positive. That was everything.
sometimes you gotta tell the truth even when it's negative.
I think she's amazing, honestly. Like, there is nobody who can clap back at him better than she can.
She
They're
knows
epic.
his weaknesses.
Yeah, she does.
And I don't think we've ever interviewed anybody whose wife put their ass on the internet.
Wait, what?
Oh,
you mean?
You know what I'm talking about.
Uh,
You know when
that
she
was-
first-
somebody asked me one of my most embarrassing moments. I was like, that was embarrassing.
Was it? I thought that was amazing. Your wife, you guys are hilarious, and I love your relationship with your is it parent-in-law? Is that what you call her?
So my mother-in-law lives with
Mother-in-law.
us.
Yeah,
Yes. And
wow.
then my father-in-law lives, like 15 minutes from us. So we see both of them a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to say, with this new Christmas album coming up this weekend, we went to Oakland to the Afrotech conference, and we pulled up your last Christmas album.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have My Favorite Things on that album.
Right, so we put 4 more songs on this one. This is
Okay.
basically the same album, but deluxe. So we put Baby It's Cold Outside with Kelly Clarkson. We put My Favorite Things, a song called Christmas in New Orleans. And we did This Christmas by Donny Hathaway.
So
I love that.
So a legendary Christmas. Why wouldn't you do a Christmas tour or something? I mean,
I did it last year.
No,
I did
but
it
this year.
I couldn't. The
Too
Voice.
busy. Oh, okay.
Yeah, The Voice. Like we're doing live shows every Monday and Tuesday until Christmas time, basically. So I don't have time to tour. But I had so much fun touring the album last year.
But
it was my favorite tour I've done.
How did you pick these extra songs that you put on the deluxe album? So Legendary Christmas, because I won't lie. I mean, I went to the SWV one. I listened to My Favorite Things, then went to find yours, and didn't have it. And so I'm glad to see that it's on here now.
Yeah, well, we just started listening to old songs. We wrote a few songs last year as well. We put, I think, 4 or 5 originals on the album last year. And, we just were listening for songs that we loved that we thought we could do a good version of. Raphael Sadiq produced the whole album.
Wow.
Is that your first time? That's not your first time working with
No,
him.
the first time we worked together was back on my second album, once again. That was way back like 13 years ago. So we've been working together for years. I've been a fan of his since way before that. And he's been,
good.
yeah, man. I mean, Tony, Lucy Pearl, his solo albums, his production for D'Angelo, Solange, and so many other artists. He's just been one of the MVPs of soul music for like 30 years. So the chance to work with him has been, incredible.
Who's your favorite producer to work with?
I love working with Raphael. I've loved working with Kanye over the years. He's been responsible for some of my favorite songs I've done. will.i.am has been responsible for some of my favorite songs I've done. Those are definitely 3 of my favorites.
Now, I don't know if you talked to Kanye recently or how that relationship works, but if he did reach out to you about, as outside of the Trump stuff, about being a part of Sunday service and maybe singing, playing the piano, would you be interested in any of that?
I mean, it's just a matter of the right time and the right material. I'm always open to collaborate with Kanye, though.
Okay.
Well, more of the minister of music, I would assume.
Yeah, I'm just talking about being a part of. Yeah.
I grew up in the church, and I was literally the minister of music growing up, and in college for a while too. So it's definitely part of who I am as an artist.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to join the LA board for the Grammys. I know that
I'm on the board, yes, sir.
I know, and I mean, just because I felt like there needs to be. I've been on this whole thing about inclusion of Black journalists.
Yes.
More people in the LGBT community having access. I just think it's important for us to see us on the carpets and behind the scenes as much as we see each other on stage.
And it's important for us to vote in these Grammy, in the voting every year, because a lot of times we complain about not seeing the artists that we want represented, and we are the people who could make that happen. So we have to make sure we engage in the process if we want to see the Grammys change. If you don't care about the Grammys changing, then don't vote. But if you actually want the Grammys to represent what the music community thinks, then we have to represent our portion of the music community in the Grammys.
Well, when I met with them recently, it's interesting because I think people look at the Grammys the same way you look at the presidential election, right? Like, how did they win? Well, there's a process by which a person gets in that position or wins that award.
Yeah, and it's defined by who's voting.
Right.
And if we don't vote, then we don't have a voice. And it's the same with the presidential election. And I think it feeds itself negatively. It's like a negative cycle, because the more you see artists that you don't like winning, the more you're like, man, I don't even want to get involved.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the more artists that you don't like are going to win because you're not getting involved. So if you want to flip the cycle, you got to be like, let's get involved.
And you got to be a part of the process.
Yeah, be part of the process.
But seeing that Grammy, voting process in all those categories and all those genres, I can see how people can get a lot of stuff wrong because.
Well, focus on the genre you know.
Yeah.
Because in the Grammys, they you don't have to vote in every category.
Okay.
You vote in the ones that you actually know. If you know hip hop, if you know R&B, vote in those categories and make sure people that don't know it aren't weighing the vote.
Yeah, they're in there like, I know that person.
Could you imagine if we all voted for Beyonce to win Best Country Song? We could have done it. I don't know if we would have been victorious.
That's what I feel like would be going on. They be just looking at it like, oh, I know that name.
Yeah, but I feel like people shouldn't vote if they don't know the category that well. Yeah. And if you do know it, make sure you represent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so you've done everything. You've won the EGOT. You're young.
I'm 40.
He's got a birthday coming up, December
I'll be
28th.
41, December 28th. That's right.
We had birthdays not too long ago. Mine was like last week.
Oh, you just had
No,
one.
Scorpio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I dated a Capricorn once. It wasn't the best experience. I'm sure you all are great people. I understand. She's a Scorpio. She just turned 43. I turned 42. He just turned 30, and he's already asking for advice. Just keep living, I guess. I don't know.
Man, you're a baby in this group.
know, man. I want marriage advice, though. I'm trying to figure that part out.
You
That's
got
the
time.
Next step.
We
Take
got
time.
time.
That was best advice we got today.
So okay, so you've
time.
done it all. I mean, what do you do now? I mean, like at some point, because I guess before you started in music, you had your idea of, okay, did you have an idea of, I want to win this award, I want to make X money, or was it just, what was
I
it?
definitely didn't dream about an EGOT. I didn't even know what that was. I definitely dreamt about Grammys, though. I grew up watching the Grammys, and I grew up playing music and wanting to be a musician for my career. So the Grammys were always a goal. But all the other stuff, I had no idea. I had no dreams of being Sexiest Man Alive or Emmy winner, Oscar winner. None of that even occurred to me. But as I got more involved in the industry and started working with filmmakers and started my own production company, all these other opportunities started coming. And eventually I was in a position where I was one letter away from EGOT status. And I was like, oh, this could actually happen. And I starred in Jesus Christ Superstar and was one of the producers of it, and we won for best live music special.
But so now that you've gotten it all, I mean, I saw that Chrissy put in her bio, she put married to the sexiest man alive or something like that.
Currently sleeping with the sexiest man alive.
So now do you print that out and put it next to your Oscar? Or it has to go somewhere.
It'll look a little tacky in our living room for you. So I'm not going to put it up there. But I'm proud of it. You know, it's just another cool thing that's happened in my life, something I never dreamed of happening, but it's a pretty cool thing, and I'm enjoying it and trying not to worry about all the naysayers that are like, I could have think it's like 100 more sexy people than him.
But now that you've seemingly achieved it all, I mean, in terms of the trophies that represent success in each lane, you're now sexiest man alive. What else is next?
Philanthropy.
Well,
he's a huge philanthropist. You know?
Even that, like even artistically, I don't look at it as I've accomplished everything. I'm always thinking about, well, what's my next album going to be? Like, how do I creatively continue to achieve the best creative work that I can achieve? And so when I'm in the studio, I'm not resting on what I did before. I have to prove myself again and again. And by the way, there aren't a lot of, stars over 40 that are making current hits. And so at a certain point, it's even harder to prove yourself, even though you've achieved all this stuff. Like fans are looking to something new. So I have to continue to prove myself, and I don't take any of it for granted.
Well, I think you're definitely. I mean, we appreciated hearing that you were coming up here.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here. I'm glad y'all had me here.
We are shocked that you're here, honestly. Like, I'm not. I walked in, I was like, so we got a legend coming in the studio today, but
No,
yeah.
It's funny, they texted us and said John Legend is coming. I was like, has he seen the show? I mean, our show is pretty reckless.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about Free America.
Yeah.
The campaign that you started back in 2015 to change the national conversation surrounding our country's misguided criminal justice policies and to end mass incarceration. I'm sure you get asked this question once or twice just because of the close relationship with Kanye. What are your thoughts on Kim really taking this as a position that she wants to, involve herself in? Like, what are your thoughts on what she's accomplished so far?
I think it's great. I honestly believe she comes to it from a very sincere place. She's literally studying for the bar. Like, she's really focused on it. And I think a lot of celebrities get involved in subjects where they only want to kind of dabble.
Just have the visual of them.
Or just dabble. It's more like a hobby. But I feel like she's doing it with a level of depth and sincerity that is genuine. And I think there's a lot of things that need to change. And one of the things she's been focused on is getting clemency or getting people's sentences reduced. And I think that's important, especially for those families. Like those families, they've had their family member taken away from them for decades. Some of them are innocent of the crimes they were convicted of. Some of them were drastically over-sentenced for the crime that they committed. And Kim's been working to free some of those people. And I think that's a part of it. But a lot of what I focus on isn't individual clemencies, even though we do some of that. But it's about changing the law, changing the structure, changing the whole system so that these people don't get locked up for that long in the first place. And some of them don't get locked up at all. And so we want to change as much on the policy side, the system side, the structure side, so that we don't have to free people on the back end or get clemency on the back end. We don't put them in there in the first place. But all of it helps. And for those families, it's like everything. They get their family member back after decades of being separated from them.
Well, when the general public hears something like that, like how can somebody, they tend to feel very powerless, So what is something, that you've learned along the way that you can advise people to do? I say get involved in local politics.
Yes, that is it. That's it, Melissa, because if you look at most of the things that happen in criminal justice, they happen on a state and a local level.
Yeah.
Even though we always worry about who's the president, who's the attorney general, like almost all the policy, almost all the people that are locked up because of crime are locked up because of state and local laws, and they did it through the state courts, and they're locked up in a state prison or the local jail. So these local elections matter. So your district attorney, critical. Every city, every county should know who their district attorney is and make sure they're voting for somebody who is more progressive and is trying to decarcerate and not incarcerate. And then we've had some great victories on the state level, like changing the marijuana laws in California. We had a proposition that passed that reduced 6 felonies down to misdemeanors and freed a lot of people that were convicted under the previous regime. So a lot of people have been freed because of changes that the people have voted for in California, in other states around the country. In Florida, we had the craziest victory that I couldn't even have imagined happening. It took 60% of Florida to say 1.4 million former felons could vote again. They were one of 4 states in the country that didn't allow people who had a felony on their record to vote, no matter what, for the rest of their lives. You could have gotten convicted when you were 18. You could have been not even gone to prison, or been out of prison by 20, and you couldn't vote for the rest of your life.
It's over.
And so 4 states were like that, Florida being the biggest one. And I worked with an organization in Florida called the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition that changed that law, got 60% of the state to vote for it. 1.4 million people were allowed to vote after that. And that's the biggest enfranchisement since women got the right to vote. So these are major victories that we can achieve just by voting in state and local elections. So I want people to not feel like they're powerless. You can get involved in these elections. You can vote, and your voice actually matters in these issues. And those wins prove to me that it's worth fighting for, and we can actually achieve some victories.
I remember going to Atlanta, and everybody was up in arms around the state wanting to control the abortion rights of women in the state. And it's just like, how do you wonder, you look up and things are happening because around you elections are happening and you're not involved in the process.
Yeah, but also we got to look at Georgia because they made a concerted effort to stop black people from voting.
Right.
The state Secretary of State, who eventually became the governor, like he personally was making sure black people couldn't vote. So a lot of times we criticize our folks for not voting, but a lot of times it's because there's a concerted effort to stop them from voting too. So we got to work on both sides, get people the desire to vote, but also make sure that the state and the government isn't putting roadblocks in their way that make it extremely difficult for them to vote.
Yeah, I mean, people think because you have the right to vote, voter suppression isn't a real thing.
Oh, it's so real, and they know it. Like they know how powerful we are if we actually vote. And so they put up roadblocks. Rather than try to win our vote, they try to stop us from voting.
All right, well, listen, I know you got to get out of here, but I just wanted to say again, the Legendary Christmas, the deluxe album, is it out now?
When does
It's
that
out
drop?
now.
It's
It's
out
out now. You can stream it now wherever you stream music. You can buy it. We got vinyl coming soon if you like to do that. I still spend some vinyl at my house.
See, and this is good music to play in the background when your drunk auntie is trying to figure out.
Yes, it's anti-approved.
We appreciate you coming up here, and please tell Chrissy to unblock us. Hollywood Unlocked.
Hollywood Unblocked.
Unlocked. Yeah, we love the legends.
I'm gonna find out what happened. She probably doesn't even remember, honestly.
Yeah, she's probably like, these motherfuckers.
I do have to say something because I'm obsessed with Chrissy. I am like every woman on the planet. When I was doing a reality show, she actually tweeted, she was like, okay, I might be late to the game, but at Miss Melissa Ford, that's my name on Twitter, is gorgeous. I still have it. I want to frame it.
Atlanta, right? Was it Atlanta?
No.
Oh.
It was called Blood, Sweat, and Heels.
Oh,
that was the name of the show.
That's right.
So we can print that tweet out and put that next to John Sexiest Man Alive poster and just hang it as a banner.
Here we
of
go.
hope.
It was a highlight.
Yes.
It was a highlight for me.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Yes,
All right,
thank
we're out of
you.
here. Peace.
Blood, Sweat, and Heels. I feel like I watched that with her at some point.
You might have.
Yes, I'm remembering this now. All right.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Peace.
Bye, everybody.